on the line with me is George Franklin, one of my best friends,
sir.
my brother. And give a quick introduction about yourself, just like who you are, where you are, and, what the situation is.
Well, I'm George Franklin. I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio. I'm from two little communities. One is called Bond Hill. The other one is Lincoln Heights, Ohio. I've been incarcerated since 1988, 35 full years. I spent almost 19 and a half of it on Ohio's death row. We'll get to that in a moment. And I've been doing this time like I'm supposed to. I read. I'm a voracious reader. I try to stay up to date as much as I can. And I've met good people along the way. Certainly my brother, Dave Garcia, who's talented, going to be a mega success.
My brother.
So I'm bragging on it because he ain't going to brag on himself, but I'm going to brag on you. But that's me in a nutshell.
Well, that's good. Like, the main thing, because, like, we have talked about this, we talk every day, so the audience will know that in time that we talk every day. And the transition, I think that a lot of people struggle with, at least the idea of what's going on in the world. Because in prison, we have our world inside, the walls. And then we have an idea of what it is out here in the real world. And so, we say, okay, when I get out, this is how I'm going to step into this world, right? And so my last bid, a bid is a amount of time that you've done in prison, one specific time. Like I call him G. Frank. You guys know him as George Franklin, but he's G. Frank to me. Now, G. Frank's been on this bid for 35 years, and I did my original bid. I'm from New York, born and raised in New York. I came out to Tucson, Arizona in 92 to traffic in drugs, period. I went AWOL from the military. And so while I was out here, I was born in criminal-minded, like Harris once said back in the day, criminal-minded. So we always was looking for, things to do to come up. And
this call is originating from an Ohio correctional facility and may be recorded and monitored.
And so I wind up, for sure. So I wound up coming out here to bring a bunch of weed back to New York. This is back when you could actually fly it. But I caught a case in 97 for bank robbery. I did 6 years and I got out. I was out for 4 years, and then I went to Ohio to traffic. Got back in the game, and we'll deal with that at another time. And so in this last bit, I did 14 years, and I've been out for 15 months. With that said, me and G used to hang out. We got a lot of our brothers, and a lot of them doing a lot of time, Dale Crow, Big Boy, and there's a bunch of other people, too, we'll deal with at another time. But we used to talk about, like, what it is to be out. And so now you have this juxtaposed actually being out, me out here talking to him out there, inside there. And like I told him from the beginning, the world has gone crazy, with this social media shit. I had no idea what it would be. And it's just
whole different world that I'm used to.
And so when you're dealing with prison podcasts that I've seen on TV, those are my birds right there making noise. But when you're dealing with prison podcasts that I've seen on the internet, a lot of it is, it's like you create, everything's a brand. So you create a brand, but they focus heavily on a lot of what we consider goofy shit going on in prison, like whether they get cell phones in there and they make TikTok videos. And I don't knock anybody for doing whatever they got to do to pass the time. But then you also get out here, you have like YouTube videos and TikTok videos, and it's like, what is it like for when a child molester comes on a yard, or what is it like? And so it's almost glamorizing that prison life. And a lot of times I feel like these videos are made by people who want to bring the worst that people in the streets who will never go to prison and scared to death to go to prison, they bring that worst part of it out, and it's almost like, but I made it. So they talk about all the horror cases and shit. This podcast, go ahead, bro.
Go ahead. I was thinking about what you were saying about that. That's more of that Hollywood TV land shit that's been driven by some of these cornballs that's been in here for a few minutes, and they think that's what it is, and that's what society wants to hear. We ain't that.
Right.
I'm going to tell you about how it really go in this bitch, and how real people do real things in here.
Right, and that's really what it is having to convey what I'm seeing to my brothers in there, like how you know. And I mean, I wrote a book called The Street Illuminati. It's all over the website, and a lot of it is, I call it a Trojan horse. It's a story about the streets, but also about money and power and success. But the Trojan horse part.
This call is originating from an Ohio correctional facility and may be recorded and monitored.
Is that we're educating the youth or people that read it on what's really going down. And so the same approach that when we're talking in this podcast is to, you know, and in the first or the second one particularly, this one is just getting to know us or know what we're trying to do. But I mean, how is it a man, you know, growing up in the 80s, 70s and 80s, and then catches his case, or that's a prison term, meaning you got arrested for that particular crime and was in jail in 89. Like, that's a real thing. We're talking to somebody who went into prison in 1989 and has not been out since, you know, and who has kept his wits about him. Because prison can break you in many ways that have nothing to do with shanking and all that other bullshit that people promote. It can break you because it's like you want to get out. You want to have your freedom. You want to have a life. And so for this brother to be able to be in there and stay focused, and there's a lot of ones. You just don't hear it. You know, anytime they want to, like, I'm a firm believer, and I tell you this all the time. If you got out tomorrow, you'll be successful. No problem. And people need to also understand, and we will deal with it later, is that there's people in there for the same crime you're in there for, okay, who've gotten out already. But because you're on what is called the old law, it's
and new law, two different things.
Right. So it's like, because you were saying at this time we can't let you out, but this person who did this so many years later, the same exact thing, he's able to get out because this is the new law. Some shit that Ohio doesn't want. Yeah, and so, you know, but the fact that you're able and you have been able to keep your wits about it, educational, and I can vouch that, you know, one of the main things we're trying to do with this. Go ahead, bro.
Well, what I really want people to understand is that you can go down two roads. You know, we used to say there's two different penitentiaries. There's that yard out there, then there's that library. You get to choose. And that's like anything out there where you guys are out there in that free world. You can choose your lot in life. There's no question about it. You can choose to be a success or you can choose to be a failure. It's really that simple. You can be stuck on stupid, parked on dumb. Hell, I've been there. I know it. You know, we always talk about some of the things that we've seen and witnessed in here with people who we really was cool with, but they done fell by the wayside because they done let these people crush them. They allowed it.
Wow.
You know, Dave. We know the type.
Right.
All they care about is wreck, commissary,
dominoes,
and what they have as dominoes, and I'm the best chess player. But you won't play that game of life. You won't play that. You'll play a board game and waste all your damn time. But you know. We'll discuss that.
No, but it's true because they say there's a saying, and I had the person that said it. It was in some paperwork, but it said that prison is a microcosm of society, and people have no clue how real that is. Like, the same people you see out here is the same people you see in there. It's just how the environment, you know, how they react to the environment. You know, and so you see these young kids, and really, ultimately, the way of this podcast the way of the TV series. Whatever I'm doing, my main goal is social.
This call is originating from an Ohio correctional facility and may be recorded and monitored.
Not even my main goal. Our main goal is social and prison reform. Because if you change the society part of it, then these young kids coming in with these buck logic numbers, which a term we use when, like, you get out in 2056, you know what I mean? Like
astronomical ass numbers that no one can reach.
Right. Like, you're gone.
Tell them they give a dude a number called 888 years.
That's when you get out, like, you know, and so, and we laugh because that's how we do it in there. We keep the shit all the way real. So, you know, I might do something stupid and we'll laugh because it's like, fuck, man, the reality is beyond comprehension. But when you see these young kids coming in, right, and the thing is, when you're in that environment, that's the environment. There's books and there's movies and documentaries on how you take a young black male, a young brown male, a young white male, and then he ends up in prison for, 70 years, 80 years because, he don't pull the trigger. And so he's feeling himself.
Yeah, and you ask yourself, what brought him to that stage?
Right.
We ain't talking about him committing this crime. We know that. I'm talking about what built up to that shit. Can you remember, you in society, can you remember the first time you did anything wrong in your life? The answer to that question is no. I mean, it's simple. It's no. But you can recall when you did something really fucked up for the first time. Whether you were punished for it or where you weren't punished for it. The bottom line is that you did it. We all do things in life. We're not perfect. We make mistakes. Some of us going to have to pay for it with their lives. I was one of them. I'm not smarter than anybody. I tell these young folks all the time, I'm not smarter than you. I'm not better than you. I just got a little bit more time than you do and experience. That's it. And I'm willing to share my experience and my time. My time is valuable just like anybody else.
Wow.
And I try to share that with our young dudes. We had a program called the Phoenix, and it was a beautiful thing here. And this is what I'll tell you, and I know many people out there can attest to this. Why is it when somebody is trying to do something positive, that there's always somebody that'll try to tear it up and make it a negative? Because people love to be mad. They love it. They love it. They're I heard someone say, it's not my saying, I heard somebody say that we're addicted to negativity. The whole country. Maybe even the whole world. We're addicted to negativity. We're addicted.
Bro, listen.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to cut you because the crazy part is that the people listening to this have to understand he's in there. We don't have access to any social media. We only have access to what we see on TV, right? So the transition of me going out into the world is I got to see that negativity that he's speaking about. And he's able to determine that, but the people listening, you should be able to go, man, he ain't lying. It's just that he's able to see it from in there and not really experience how it is, how terrible it is. But, bro, you're telling them and you're getting it from inside there, and they know being out that it's horrible. There was
and you got people who are supposed to be professionals and people who work in here who really not professional, but they're broken robots. That's what I call them, a broken damn robot. I mean, the dumbest of the dumb. And you can't tell them that because, actually they know how to keep you locked up. Shit.
Right.
We
they
know
don't
that.
want to hear anything. They don't. It's crazy because I was talking to my girl Karen, and my girl's name is Karen. That's right, and she rolls with us. So I was talking to her about the stimulus, You know, inmates,
right.
when they originally did the stimulus package, this was when COVID first started, there was an inmate, the way they worded it to get it through Congress, it gave certain criteria. Well, an inmate, very intelligent inmate, realized that, and I get it,
all Americans.
Right. And so he fought it in the
This call is originating from an Ohio correctional facility and may be recorded and monitored.
He fought it in the Supreme Court, and he won. So the law said that inmates would be eligible for, I think it was $3,200, the total amount, right? Now, and so the funny part is, like, I might need something for visitation. I might need something relevant to our welfare in there. And overwhelming majority of these case managers, you can't get them to do anything. It's almost like you're a burden. And we listen. They act like we're not there. We're not human. We listen to them talk about their pensions, about overtime, about everything relevant to working there and then retiring from there. But actually helping us is not at the forefront of that. But
you mean doing your job. You mean doing your damn job. You know, which is something that is foreign to these nitwits and nincompoofs. They will tell you that I'm busy. I said, you're busy doing nothing. You sit in the air conditioning. These are the same people that tell you, now this is an un-air-conditioned spot, but their offices are full of air conditioning. You can attest to this. They'll tell you, don't put nothing in your window because you're blocking the sun. We can't see all the way through. I said, but when I went downstairs to your office, you got curtains and all kinds of shit up with air conditioning blowing through here, and you haven't stepped out here to ask anybody, does anybody need any assistance with anything? Because, God forbid, I need you to do your job. Aren't you a criminal? Aren't you a criminal when you steal people, when you steal taxpayers' money because they pay you to do a job?
But again, we're convicts, so they don't, we're not seen as that kind of human. But people who are part of the Veterans Affairs, anybody who's ever been, whether it be the DMV or anything out there where you're trying to get contact, you're trying to get help with something, then, they go through the same thing. They're waiting in line and they're dealing with people who don't want to be there. And it's just like, so that's, the society's become obese, psychologically obese, and they don't want to move. They don't want to do anything. However, bring me to the point.
Now they wonder why we're in the position that we are in.
Right, a lot of people, right. So, but it brings me to the point of the stimulus. So once that law came in, all of a sudden on the kiosk, which is a machine we can read emails and get music and stuff and get taxed the hell out of for our entertainment to keep us busy. But on there they were sending us emails, and we were reading it, and they're like, if this law came out and you guys deserve this and access, we're going to help you. And it was the first time in 14 years of my incarceration in this particular bit where, like, they opened the door. Let me help you fill out a form. Let me double check. Let me make phone calls for you. Why? Because in Ohio alone was 53,000 inmates that have access to $3,200.
Because they're doing business. They got a big-ass commissary where they raise all the goddamn prices and separate these nitwits from their goddamn money. Because some of them, let me tell you a story. This is a funny-ass story. Had a kid over here named Joey. He ain't never had no money in his life. Little white kid, cool little dude, but he kind of slow. So he's the porter over in J Block. He gets his stimulus. He goes on the kiosk and looks at his account and sees that he has $3,000. Wow. He said he ain't never had that kind of money in his life. He goes up to the officer's desk and tells the officer, I quit.
This call is originating from an Ohio correctional facility and may be recorded and monitored.
Said, I ain't no damn porter no more. I ain't mopping shit. I don't give a fuck. I quit. Man, when is commissary?
like it's the same, because we make $18 a month. That's what you make in there.
That's right.
So this is the advantage of doing a podcast at home because I got the computer in front of me. So 53,000 inmates inside of Ohio prison, okay? At $3,200, this is what the administration was trying to do. $3,200, $169 million they had access to of those inmates. And so now the TV place that gives us our TV, that's this little tiny TV, how much is it now?
Well, they $245 for a TV that I seen at Circuit City or wherever it was for $45. They had a $200 markup.
So, like, people don't understand, and that's just off the stimulus. They got to do what they do. Now, again, we're just introducing ourselves, and we're wrecking, which is joking. We're just right now just to get the first podcast out the way. But so they helped us with that. But you also have to understand people out there that, and I get the statistics on how many people have a family, a relative, someone they love that's incarcerated. You have to understand that same markup is on you if you want your loved one to have TV. Because doing time without a TV is a very miserable thing. You know, doing it without AC is super miserable. But you know what I'm saying? Like, and so if my mom is on a fixed income, right, and I was just she loves me, and I made a mistake, right? She's right, and so they love us, right? But they're on fixed incomes, whatever, and they're the kind of relative that will do whatever.
That's right. They're gonna try to do what they can do.
Right.
$250 something for a flat screen 13-inch TV that costs maybe $45, if that, at your at a Circuit City or something like that. It's outrageous, and they're allowed to do it because nobody is outraged about it out there in society because they're doing it in your name. There's something wrong with that.
And a lot of it is, you know, you have many tentacles to this monster, right? So on the website, people can go. There's a link to a documentary called The House I Live In. It was done by Eugene Zarecki. And it is by far the best documentary ever made dealing with the prison industrial complex. And it humanizes the inmate. That's it. And so if you get a chance, you go find the link, The House I Live In. I think if you go to Tubi, which is a free TV program, you can watch the whole thing for free. It's got commercials, you know, that's not a problem. But it'll help you to understand the kind of money that's being made for incarcerating people, which America, and again, we're going to deal with that later on, the stats, because as we do these podcasts and I'm, you know, doing the video aspect of it, I'll put these statistics up so you can see. But ultimately, it's, you know, we're in there, we've made decisions. We've done it, okay? And so, you know, they say Lady Justice is blind. She's not, because, again, I say, my brother G. Frank, he made a mistake, and he will own it in the future. We'll talk about it. And then you have this same person over here who made the same mistake, and he's out. He's done his time. And so, you know, part of it, you have to walk through that so people can understand. Now, there's people that are going to listen to this. I don't give a shit. You guys are inmate, and that's fine. You know, you go out there on with your life.
This call is originating from an Ohio correctional facility and may be recorded and monitored.
But understand, and I say this to all the people that used to come in there, the majority of us ain't going to stay in here for the rest of our lives.
That's right. Right.
And you know where we're going to move? Right next door to you.
That's right.
So
most people get out of prison. I mean, there's only what is it, old law, 3,000 some odd old law inmates in here. That means out of 52,000 inmates.
Right.
Guess what? The great 99% of them are coming home. 95% of them coming home.
And so you look at what's out there now, and you go, what is it a byproduct of? And again, you might not care, but there's plenty of, organizations that have a structure. That's right. What we're trying to bring to the table and closing this podcast is simply what's to come. And what's to come is to bring an understanding, to humanize the inmate population, to make you understand that they are your brothers and your sons and your nephews and your nieces and your aunts and your mothers and fathers. Like, if they're not, like, they got this thing called 60 Days In, and it's a bunch of bullshit, and I'll cover it later on because it's just bullshit. But we're trying at Chosen Warfare to, bring forth a reality so people could understand and be a part of, because the social revolution has to take place across the board. And, and there's a lot of good people in prison, a lot of intelligent people in prison. And this podcast with me and G is just going to try our best to illuminate what's going on in there. I'm like looking at the clock, bro, like, and I'm trying to, I feel like, like one of the talk show host people, this is some shit we really ain't know. And you're looking at it and you're like this from producer, like, you got a minute and a half. Like, so it should be coming on soon. So anyway, I thank you for calling, bro, and this is something that we're going to continue to do. This is our first podcast, and all it is just an introduction to us. And in our next podcast, we will talk about
you have
Jordan.
1 minute remaining.
There she
is. We'll talk about Jordan here. She always shows up. She's very rude. But we'll talk about George's life growing up as a young black man in Cincinnati and the things that led to him to land on death row, man. And bro, I thank you for showing up, man, and listen, man, your voice is out here, man, in a major way, man.
Thank you for using GTL.
Well, that's how it usually goes. Family members get cut off in the middle of a conversation. Well, that was our first podcast, me and G. Frank kind of introducing ourselves to the audience. And then as we move forward in other podcasts, we're really going to get into in-depth on the prison life and how inmates cope with certain obstacles. Anyway, I appreciate you listening, and I look forward to doing the next one. Peace out.